I'm Stacy Grinsfelder.
And I'm Daniel Cantor.
And this is True Tales from Old Houses, the Minisode.
The smallest of all episodes. Hi, Stacy.
Hey, Daniel, how's it going?
It's going. I'm a little dying of allergies right now. I'm on multiple antihistamines, which may not be advisable. So this could really go off the rails at any time.
Will there be lots of sniffling and sneezing?
There might be.
Okay.
You brought to my attention that sneezing right into the microphone is probably not the kindest thing to either you or our listeners. So I'm going to really try to refrain from that. But if you hear some mouth breathing, and I'm sorry.
That's okay. You poor thing. I don't have allergies, so I don't know how that feels, but I'm really sorry because it sounds like it's pretty rough.
Thank you for your condolences. You know, I'm pretty used to it. Several years ago, I got allergy tested, and it was like, well, you're pretty much allergic to everything. It was trees, grass, mold, dust mites, dog dander. I mean, all the things that I'm just around
all the time.
Constantly. Like, why was I not an accountant? It would have been such a better option.
A lot less sneezing when you're an accountant,
yeah,
right?
An accountant with some like bearded dragons instead of dogs or something.
Oh, bearded dragons are so fun. We used to have one, but
really?
Yeah, we did. His name was Otis.
Otis. That's so crazy.
I won't spend a lot of time talking about our bearded dragon on a house podcast.
This was not on our outline.
It was not in our outline, but really quickly because it is kind of cute. He was a great, great lizard. He moved to New York with us from California. And if you don't know anything about bearded dragons, they're super docile. Like they don't run away. They don't, they're just really gentle creatures. So we would take him out when we got to places like Arizona where it was really hot, and he'd just like sunbathe and hang out with us, and he loved it. But yes, his name was Otis. That's all.
Oh, I love
Missed
Otis.
him.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we slip a picture in the show notes of Otis?
Yes. Would you like to see him wearing his Santa Claus costume?
1000%. I would pay to see that, yes.
It actually belonged to my son, and one afternoon around Christmas time, he said he wanted to make Otis a Santa Claus costume, and so we did. And I have a picture of it. I'll put it out in the show notes. It's pretty hilarious.
Precious.
All right, so besides allergies, what's been going on with you?
Oh, gosh. Well, the allergies have really been compounded by all this work I'm doing in the backyard. I'm trying to get myself set up for summer entertaining, so that's been really exciting, and a lot of heavy lifting. And some cool and exciting things, I think, have been happening with my nonprofit, the Kingston City Land Bank. So a few weeks ago, I guess, we were hip to the Excellence in Historic Preservation Award that is offered annually by the Preservation League of New York State.
Wow, congratulations.
Thanks. I mean, we haven't won anything or done anything, but I guess the way this works, I don't totally understand it. So if I get any of this wrong, apologies to whoever. But I guess essentially you nominate yourself. And so it feels a little arrogant in some way to be like, oh, look at our amazing work. But it was actually really cool because it prompted me to take the time to put together all these before and after pictures of our projects. And so we've fully renovated 6 houses so far. We have 3 more under construction, 6 more in pre-development. There's a lot of houses going on. I've designed almost all of them. 5 out of the 6 that are finished, 3 out of the 3 that are under construction. So anyway, I've been really bad about sort of taking the time to appreciate how nice they are, and they really are. So that was very cool. We had to get letters of support from folks, so those were lovely to read, and we'll see what happens.
It is a shame that you had to nominate yourself, but honestly, I think that you are deserving to win an award like this because, as you said, you've put a lot into this, and it's shown over the years, and I'm sure that you've learned a lot from it, and to be able to compile all that information and see how that worked out from start to finish must feel really good.
Yeah, it does. I mean, there's the side of it, obviously, that we're the only ones really creating first-time affordable homeownership opportunities in the city of Kingston, which has become very important, specifically since the pandemic, because the housing market went wild. And so there's that element, of course, but then the other side of it for me that I'm very, very proud of is the way that we've renovated these houses is sort of just as important in a way as why we're renovating the houses. And I believe in that deeply in terms of preserving them for many, many years and not sort of creating a disposable product that may not hold up well for homeowners in 10, 20 years. So I think that all of our projects are pretty beautiful historic restorations on a very tight nonprofit budget. And it's been sort of my mission to show that those things are not mutually exclusive, that they can coexist. And I feel like it's worked. And I'm really, really, really proud of that. So my time as a board member is actually coming to a close. We're appointed by the mayor to terms, and my term is up at the end of the year. I will remain involved in certain ways, but it's cool after 5 years of very, very hard work to kind of leave the organization in a really good place, and hopefully as the recipient of the Excellence in Historic Preservation Award from the Preservation League, because that would just be an enormous honor. That was a lot. Sorry.
No, that's great. I'm thrilled for you. And you have struck that balance between restoration, rehab, and also affordable housing. You've done such a good job striking that balance between all of those. And you'll set a really great example for other people who would like to follow this same model, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong. You're welcome. You're welcome. But correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you basically start the Kingston Land Bank?
Kind of. Land banks they're essentially formed by the legislature. So in our case, our city council, they are authorized by Empire State Development in the state of New York. So they actually decide who can start a land bank. And for some reason, I don't totally understand why they've sort of limited that. So not anyone can just up and start a land bank.
Okay.
I was appointed to the board day one and perhaps foolishly raised my hand to be board chair when nobody else did. And so that's how I ended up in that role. And then I'm sure, like many nonprofits, we had a really rough go of things at the beginning. I don't have to get into it, but it was a hard first couple of years. And so there was a point where I was essentially acting as executive director. I was in City Hall like 4 days a week. Like it felt like a full-time job. And by the way, all of this is volunteer work, so I don't get paid for it. But I was managing staff and trying to keep these grant applications afloat and all of this stuff. And so I don't think it's arrogant of me to say that the organization likely would have sort of just dissipated at that point had I kind of not been able to or willing to put that kind of time into it. So
Right.
I did not start it, but I was a founding board member, and I've sat on the acquisition and disposition committee, I think every year since the beginning. I used to chair that committee. And so that's where we write the policies of how we buy and sell houses. After a couple of years of intense effort, finally got a resolution passed with the city council very recently, a couple months ago, that allows us to finally acquire properties for $1, which is standard in pretty much everywhere, but was a really, really hard political battle in Kingston to fight and kind of lead the charge on. So it's been it's been a huge part of my life. I'm not really sure people realize, because I don't talk about it that much, because it feels sort of weird to blur the line between kind of my personal and professional internet presence with this thing that is volunteer work. And I gotta be kind of careful about where I draw those boundaries. So
I understand.
it's been a huge part of the last 5 years of my life. It's kind of nuts.
Right. And you recently actually gave the house, I don't know what the term is, but you turned the keys over to a new family. Is that right?
Not quite yet. So the way that the sales work, I'll try to distill this really briefly. So basically, because these are income restricted properties, there's eligibility for who can apply to own them. It basically boils down to income and family size. So if you are at a certain level of the area median income and you have at least this number of people in in your family, so our policy has been one person per bedroom. Standard affordable housing policy is actually two people per bedroom, but we found that selling a 3-bedroom house and requiring 6 people as part of the application was untenable,
Sure.
and kind of silly in certain cases. So once you apply, which the initial application is pretty simple, all of that information goes to a home ownership counselor, which is a partner organization. We've been working with one called Patstone. Eileen, you do amazing work. And so there'll be a few hundred applications. And after everybody's, income and everything gets verified, then they have to get a prequal. Like it's a difficult process and a lot of things have to kind of come together. So by the end of the day, you have a pretty small pool. And then the sort of devastating but really most fair way to do it is just a lottery. So we literally pull names out of a hard hat. This time it was a hard hat. I can't remember what we did the first time.
Oh, wow.
And actually, they're not even names, they're case numbers. So everything is anonymous to the board until
Right.
those selections happen so that there is absolutely no, conflict or favoritism or anything like that. So with these last houses, we're selling 2 houses that had the exact same eligibility requirements, both 3 bedrooms, same exact price, but very different houses. And so I asked the home ownership counselor to ask people what their preference was for which house. Not that we could necessarily accommodate it, but my thought was in the very, very, very off chance that both of the original selections actually preferred the opposite house, that they could just switch. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, how exciting.
Everybody got the houses that they wanted. Well, everybody who was selected, which were 2 families, got the houses that they preferred. And I got to show the best thing. It's like you walk through these houses for 5 years. You plan them. They're such long labors of love. And so I got to tour one of the families through the house for the very first time. They hadn't been inside. They'd seen, we do these little tour videos that I walk people around, but the houses are still under construction. So now it's pretty much done. And it's a husband and wife and their 6-month-old baby, Roy, who's so cute. And it was I think it was his 2 sisters and his mom, the whole gang is there, and they just absolutely loved it. At least that's how it seemed.
That's so sweet.
Hopefully they weren't just being polite, but it really was very cool. It felt like this house just fits them so well and they love everything about it. And
That's great.
it really made my week. So that was very cool.
Yeah. Aw, that's wonderful. That makes me
So
tear up just a little bit. I'm very happy for them.
I cried in the board meeting where we selected them because they were there in person and they're sitting there and they're so sweet and they have this little baby and I'm like, God, I really, not that I am playing favorites in any way and I have no control, but if I don't pick that number and this family is sitting right there, I'm just gonna want to shrink into nothing. And
Did they cry or were they excited?
they cried, I cried, everyone cried. It was really sweet. You can watch it on YouTube if you really want. But
Well, we should link that.
it can't be, I haven't seen it. It can't be very good footage because it's one of these weird tech things they have set up in City Hall. But
Right.
anyway, it was pretty exciting. So they, should close in the next month or 2. And then they are going to live in this wonderful little house that we almost did not buy because I had to convince the board so hard to buy this house because it was formerly a hoarder case, so it was just jam-packed full of stuff, and I was kind of, of course, I'm the one that's like, it's a fine house under all that crap. And, nobody really could get
See
there
it.
mentally, but they trusted me enough that we acquired it. And now it's beautiful. It's the sweet little bungalow. It's so, so cute. Anyway, that's a lot of talking.
That's okay. I
Sorry.
love how you see the good in these houses because I'm sure that that's very difficult for a lot of people.
Harder than I think I realized. Yeah, people are very swayed by surface level, like there's just too much stuff in it. Granted, we filled I think two 50-yard dumpsters, which is like the biggest size dumpster, I think. I mean, the house is only like 1,000 square feet, so crazy amount of stuff, to the point that I did not know how many bedrooms the house had when we bought it, because there were rooms that you just couldn't get to on the second floor. So there was some like just, I'm sure it'll be fine. And it was. It's a great house.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
Thanks. So sorry. That was just a whole bunch, but
Never apologize for that. You're just as important on this conversation as I am. We are co-hosts together, so I love hearing what you're up to.
now I'm gonna cry again. Well, so what if you're back from Missouri, obviously, and
I am. Just got back from Missouri. I have a funny story to tell you about being in Missouri. It's just a really quick one. But, we talked about, I think on the last minisode, we skipped a week. On the last minisode, we talked about how when we go visit our parents, we like to do things for them or we have a list or whatnot. I don't remember how that all came down, but that was a couple episodes ago. The Stacy do list.
Right.
So she didn't initially have one for me, just like I knew she wouldn't, because I think we talked about that then. She always got one from her in-laws and from her parents, and so she tried to no, we're good, we're not going to talk about that. And then it's funny because she'll wait until I say something like, so do you have anything for me to do while you're here? And then she'll say, oh, well, I did actually write a few things down. And that's how it usually starts with her. But I got a kick out of the fact that her jobs for me were what we call tall person jobs in my house. So here in Blake Hill House, when I have tall person jobs, I call one of my sons. My sons are anywhere from 5'8" to 6 foot or something. And I ask them to get things off the shelf for me. Pull things down or dust the tops of things or whatever. These are tall person jobs.
Right.
So my
Right.
mother saved her tall person jobs for me. And I think it's
Yes.
important for me to make it clear I am 5'4". I am the tall person in that house. So we just kept laughing about the tall
Yes.
person jobs. So I'm like, Mom, I'm only 5'4". But my mother, I don't even think is 5 foot tall anymore. So you can imagine I look like a giant and I will take full advantage of that.
Oh my gosh, that is really funny. That must be exciting. I've never been called. Actually, that's not true. The other day in the grocery store, a woman asked me to reach something, and I was so like, I literally looked behind me like, is she talking to me? Because I'm 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. Brad is gonna be mad, but he calls both of us tiny humans.
Tiny humans.
Because he's like 6'3". Yeah, my boyfriend.
He calls you tiny humans or he calls me?
both of us.
Me too?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that. Oh, that's so funny.
We've talked about it.
Tiny
Because
humans.
you're like, I feel like I present as a short person. You are like a proportionately small person. Like everything is just sort of slight. Like I have like short, stocky legs. Anyway, I will stop talking about your body now. What are we doing? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No idea. But I'm sorry. As long as you're not body shaming me, we're fine.
No, not at all. Like if I saw you in a picture, I would be like, oh, she could be 5'11" or 5'4". But like me, I feel like I'm identifiably short.
That's funny.
Just have like a little compact body. Anyway.
I've taken a picture of myself before with my mantle. We have a fireplace mantle in the living room, and I think it's over 6 foot, I think. I think it's around 6 foot, 6.5 foot. So it's tall,
Wide.
and tall.
Oh, tall.
I have to get a stool to put things up on it. So whenever I take a picture there, people will say to me, they're like, oh my gosh, I thought you were so much taller. And I'm like, well, okay, in all fairness, there's two things going on here. First, this mantle is insanely tall, like ridiculously tall, which would dwarf most people. Most people,
Yeah.
it would seem very tall too. But also, no, I am short. I am a short person. But for some reason, people always imagine that I'm taller when they see me on Instagram or something. Like, oh, I thought you were like a lot of people. I thought you were about 5'11" or 5'9" or 5'8" or something. I'm like, no, not me.
I mean, not to make you get a big head, but I think it's the same kind of. I think it's the same kind of thing as like when you see an actor in real life and you're like, wait, they're like a normal sized person? Like, how is that possible? Because everyone just seems bigger. Or like, I don't know if you've had this experience. If I go see like a blogger's house that I followed for a long time or something, and I'm used to seeing pictures of their house, everything always looks smaller to me
Yes.
in real life.
Oh, it's funny that you said that because yes, every single time places look smaller than when you're seeing them
Yeah.
on. I don't know why. That's really weird. I don't know why that is.
Blake Hill House is actually a tiny house, you guys. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, we're going to put it on wheels and roll it out to Utah when I move. That's the tiny house.
Exactly. Just put it on a trailer. You know what one of my favorite turns of phrases, I had this really sweet chiropractor who was from Michigan, so of course she was super sweet. And one time she told me that I was slight of stature.
Slight of
And
stature. That's very, very
I really
sweet.
liked that.
Yeah.
So you and I are slight of stature.
Slight of stature. I like that very much. Well, that's pretty much all I have going on right now. I'm getting ready to go on my 12-week forced rest hiatus
Right.
from work after surgery. And so really all I'm doing is just last minute jobs to set myself up for not having to do a whole lot of work during that time and not have a whole lot of worries. But my kids are a little tired of me because I'm having them clean the whole house from top to bottom because I know
Good.
well, we're all pitching in. It takes all of it. It takes a village to clean Blake Hill House. But I
real.
just didn't want to be looking at dirt or just a mess at all because I knew it would drive me crazy. So we are deep, deep cleaning right now, and they are fully over it. But so be it. That's what it's like to be in this family sometimes.
Now, can I ask, just genuinely curious,
Sure.
like, what does deep cleaning involve in Blake Hill House?
Well, it varies according to my motivation. So, yesterday, deep cleaning meant going through every single bin in my bathroom and tossing stuff and tidying all the bins and sending them through the dishwasher and then cleaning everything in the bathrooms and mopping. So, that was like a really big day. But as far as I'm concerned, it also depends on if I'm doing the work. Don't tell them I said that. But yeah, it could be deeper if they're doing the work. But it's a lot of
I love that.
yeah, it's a lot of decluttering, a lot of at least dusting the baseboards, and we'll mop the floors. Like mopping is something that we don't do a ton of. We always spot clean. Don't get me wrong, we're not disgusting, but we are mostly spot cleaners, but we'll mop everything. And even the dog will be brushed and toenails clipped, and so yeah, it's a little
Ooh, a
intense.
spa day for Millie as well.
A spa day
Love
for
that.
Millie, yes. So hopefully that means that when I wake up, I'll look around and I'll see nothing but clean and everything will smell nice. And then I won't be sitting there like going crazy, wishing that I could. Well, I never wish that I could clean, but trying to figure out how to get it all done, I guess, is the point. So
Yeah. No, I think this is genius. It's so smart.
it's kind of the same concept of cleaning the house, not that thoroughly, but cleaning the house before you go on vacation. So then you know that when you come
Right.
back, it's not going to be something that you have to do right away.
That's very clever. If those kids get bored after this, just send them on over here.
Send them on over.
Gosh, we could deep clean for a month, I feel like.
That's the only problem with deep cleaning here is that I feel like we could deep clean and then turn right around and start over again because this house is
Right.
not a tiny house that we will be putting on wheels and driving to Utah, unfortunately.
Do you feel like it produces dust like it's its job? I feel like my house does. It
Yes,
just
absolutely.
never ends.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't understand it.
And I thought that was an out west thing because, when you live out west and everything's dry, there's just naturally more dust and stuff in the
Right,
air.
right.
But I really do think, and she's worth every dust particle, but I do think Millie is kind of the culprit for a lot of this stuff because, well, that and all the demo and renovations and rehab. but I'm just going to say it's Millie.
That might have something to do with it. Oh, I blame my dogs ruthlessly. They can't defend themselves, so,
Right.
you know.
They have nothing to say about it. Yeah. But anyway, like I said, worth every dust particle, worth every tumbleweed of dog hair blowing across the living room floor.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we should probably wrap this up for today.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So next episode is another bonus episode, and we're going to actually talk about Levittown and the post-war building boom, which is something you are quite passionate about.
I really like it. I haven't studied it in a long time, so I'm gonna really stumble through some stuff. But I think it'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
And then we also wanted to remind people that the giveaways are closing pretty soon. So head on over to truetalesfromoldhouses.com/giveaway. There are 4 on there. They're all excellent. And we hope you win.
We do. And just a reminder, it's giveaway singular.
Yes.
So truetalesfromoldhouses.com/giveaway singular.
Yes. Go get that swag.
Thank you for listening to True Tales from Old Houses, the Minisode. Until next time.
See you next week.